Welcome everyone to this very special episode of Mindset Mastery, where we delve into the fascinating topic of happiness trends for 2025. What can we learn? In today's fast-paced world, the pursuit of happiness has become more important than ever. To shed light on this intriguing subject, we have an exceptional guest with us today, a thought leader and a happiness enthusiast, Rohan Nabar, whose insights have inspired countless individuals across the globe. Rohan is a student of human behavior and a self-awareness evangelist. So welcome, Rohan. Welcome to our podcast, Mindset Mastery.
Thank you, Hari. Thank you for the welcome.
Okay. So, Rohan, just to understand a little bit more about you for
Sure.
for my audience, and
Yeah,
how journey has been in this field of happiness. How?
sure. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Just maybe an additional statement of background before I jump into that. So I've spent about 21 years in the space of learning and development, which falls obviously under the frame of human resources. So, by education and by profession, I have been in the space of working with people, understanding them and helping them develop.
Right.
What happens in a field like this is when you're dealing with people, there is an element of skill, there is an element of the career that they're building, they're growing, etc. A lot of times focus is on the harder aspects, right? You study engineering and you come and probably build a career in engineering. You probably, let's say, study marketing and then come in and learn the skills of digital marketing, social media, all of that, and then build a career there. But what actually makes a larger difference than the harder skill that you learn is the softer skill, which is you can call that human skills, you can call them things like emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and among the others. So right at the beginning of my career, I had a fascination for understanding the softer aspects of people versus the skills. Skills obviously came in naturally. The
Yeah.
others I got pulled to a whole lot more. And while some fairly broad skills was something that I did work on from a soft or behavior standpoint. In the year 2014, in my own life, I think I was at a point where everything that I would need materially, I had it. How I should probably in terms of a career, in terms of life overall, in terms of how I would enjoy, friends, etc. But there was still something within that didn't feel right, and I would say that's where my journey into understanding the concept of happiness, we define it as happiness in common words, but there is a very very strong scientific backing to that. It's called subjective well-being. So the study of subjective well-being for me began. Yeah, that's how my entry into this field was, perhaps about 10, 11 years ago.
Really very interesting because ultimately everyone wants to be happy. For whatever you
That's
want to earn, you want to acquire in our life, your ultimate goal is the happiness. You should be happy. So that is the
sure.
ultimate good, and rest all the things of whatever we acquire and we do, they are the means to that happiness actually. So it's
Sure.
really very interesting and very enlightening actually. So I'm moving to my first question for the podcast. What are the key emerging trends in mental health and well-being that are shaping how we define happiness in 2025? So in this year, so what are the emerging trends in this field? What do you see?
Sure. I think for looking at this year, we'll have to probably look at about 4 or 5 years ago and then come to here. I think the world that we live in today could be defined in some ways pre-COVID and post-COVID, if you will. So where earlier people met a lot in person, meetings in person, training programs, etc. That suddenly through the pandemic shifted to something that could get done virtually. So there were virtual training programs. There were meetings that happened over Zoom, Teams, and Gmeet and all of that. And as some of that took shape, people started to get comfortable with working and living remotely.
Yeah.
More, to begin with, first because there was no choice, because you couldn't interact, you couldn't step out, you couldn't meet a lot of people together. But over a period of time, people started to get used to it in some way, saying, without the travel, without the traffic, I stay in Bangalore,
Yeah.
and you spend about sometimes 3, worst times 4 hours a day in traffic to and fro. So, the fact that you can get over that and maybe be able to be more effective and efficient. But
Right.
one of the things that happened over the years, maybe 2022, 23, essentially when the pandemic had ebbed down and people were kind of getting used to, the way of life, new way of life is. I think what has emerged from there is in 24, 25 largely. A lot of people have felt the disconnect, or the impact of not meeting and interacting a lot of people in person. And that, really human being is a social animal. And so not being a lot more in person, not meeting people, not spending time with them tends to impact, people. So I think that's one thing that has been observed, that there were, for organizations, for people, this, work from home, hybrid, work remotely, etc. And hence, a lot of organizations, if you observe now, are kind of calling the line and saying that, yes, of course, if your job does not ever require to come to work, then that's fine.
Mhm.
But if there is a need for you to collaborate, work together, etc.,
Yeah.
I mean, very, very large organizations and forward-looking organizations like Amazon as well, for example,
Mhm.
has mandated that people come back to work in 2025, into the office completely. So, that's something that has impacted a lot of people in their the way they feel happy and the way happiness impacts.
So, how does the advancement in technology, such as AI-powered apps and virtual therapy platforms, influence our pursuit of happiness?
There are two sides to this coin, and I'd like to bring in my perspective before I go a little more in deep. AI, of course, or technology, AI in particular, and technology in general, I think are here to stay. It's not a fad. It's something that will be integrated into what people do in times to come.
Yeah.
And so, what we basically need to understand is, we can't deflect or stay away or not work with it, right? It is something that is, in for the future, and we will obviously have to understand how do we make the most of it versus how do we fight it or tackle it. Now, in this, when people start to invest time and effort in understanding the technology, sometimes they invest themselves so much in that the whole. I mean, I was just re-listening to Simon Sinek's,
Mhm.
the Why TED talk this morning, and
Yeah.
was really thinking about why do we actually use technology, which technology do we use where, and how does it help us, right, is something that we need to basically look at. And so some of the trends that I observe is people who mindlessly use AI, perhaps one, may not know it as well, may not be using it optimally, and may not be towards their benefit. For those of us who are investing time, effort, and money in learning it the right way,
Mhm.
using it in the right use cases, and are actually able to bring the most out of it, I think are using technology to be able to, make their lives better. Something I was reading the other day was, the right use of, artificial intelligence is not necessarily to ensure that you have the technology listen to the favorite music so that you can wash your clothes, but it is that the technology can, wash clothes well so that you're able to listen to the music that you like. So where do you use it and how do you help it make your life better is important to look at.
So, moving to the are the traditional practices like mindfulness and meditation still relevant in 2025, or are they being redefined by the newer approaches?
I think meditation and practices of the likes are ancient, right? They're not 50, 100, but they're thousands of years old. And in all contexts that have changed, they have always been very, very relevant. The moment we look at technology, the idea essentially is to say that is technology necessarily taking it away from who we are? It really depends on how do we use it, right? And I'm reminded, speaking about happiness, right? Reminded of, a gentleman called, Matt Kingsworth, who did a lot of research on how happy people feel in the moment. And one of the things that he had done was for people to report how happy they feel on an application, on an app, every hour and certain times of the day to understand, is there a pattern that people feel happy and, where they don't. Now think about it. It's using technology to understand, how happy you are. So it is, in some way, a softer term measured by a hard, technology. So similarly, when you look at meditation, the whole fundamental of all kinds of meditation is being able to align your being to your doing, right? So for you to be able to get your thinking, your breathing together, for you to be at ease, and at your most relaxed best. In fact, I use technology myself for meditation every morning. I have my daily meditations running on Spotify, right? So and of course, some of them now pick what my pattern has been. So technology helps pick, what are some of the kinds of meditations that I like, and throws up the ones that will probably, align me well for that particular day. And so I think, while meditation as, a topic would probably remain constant, I'm assuming for, centuries and millennia together, but how it is probably, coming to us probably will change as it goes along. So technology will in some ways boost meditation versus contest with it.
And what role does community and connection play in the happiness equation today, especially in an increasing digital world?
Beautiful. We'll have to go back to understanding the study of happiness for this, right? Now, there is a study on understanding happy and healthy people over the years, and the large description of that is to understand where are the happiest people over the years, and the study is, culminated into understanding these areas, and they were defined as blue zones. There's a beautiful documentary of that on Netflix as well, available on YouTube as well. And there's a book by the name Blue Zones as well, which basically looked at the patterns in places where there were maximum centenarians, people who lived beyond 100, and known to be very happy, as they lived their lives. And this study basically spoke about some of the very essential elements of keeping people happy and healthy, and multiple things among them, was what they eat, how they live their life in terms of, physical, exercises they do, farming on a daily basis. So they're sitting up and, standing up and sitting down, etc. Imagine 100-year-old people doing that as well every single day. That keeps them healthy. They would travel from one place to another, largely either walking or by bicycle. So that keeps them healthy as well, to ensure that they're not using, how do you call it, motor powered vehicles. And they all lived together in some ways in community. So, each and every one of them for each other. So, four generations in some cases living together, smaller villages, everybody knowing everybody very, very well.
Yeah.
All of these aspects are what determine the fact that they lived longer and they lived happier. Now, coming back to the question that you just asked, what's the role of community in individuals being, happy and healthy? And I think it's phenomenal, and a fundamental role that it plays. A lot of times, we as individuals could end up having good and bad days, or feeling maybe good about ourselves, and sometimes maybe not so good. I think it is this particular community that always stays with us, keeps us in our best spirits, also for us to give towards them. So it's not just about getting from the community, but am I living for them? How do I help them? How do I create value for them? I think tends to help well as well. So I think community is definitely a very strong factor in keeping individuals happy and healthy. I suspect that's where COVID had a pretty strong impact, where people couldn't meet each other Some of them, of course, made do with the virtual meet eventually. But right at the beginning, when there were not very popular applications like that, I think there was a bit of a challenge.
So thank you, Rohan. That was all the question I had for you on this topic of happiness and what are the trends in 2025. Soon we'll be moving to the next topic on this. This is a very wider uh, topic actually, and we should discuss a lot on this. So thank you for joining us today and sharing your invaluable knowledge on this vital topic. Together, let's explore what 2025 holds for happiness and how we can embrace these trends in our daily lives. So, thank you, listeners. If you like, yes.
Sure. Hari, if I can make one last observation before I leave you guys. I think one of the fundamental things that people get wrong about happiness essentially is that it comes outside in, right? I will chase something and then I will be happy when I get the money, when I get the job, when I achieve something, etc. Whereas actually the fundamental of happiness is diametrically opposite, inside out. Am I, in alignment? Am I happy with what I have? And am I being able to craftfully design my life versus go with it just with the flow, right? And so I would say the more time you spend with yourself, of course, with others, yes, but with yourself, to be able to understand yourself, what drives you, what are your strengths, what are your challenges, right? And how can you use them in multiple places? That will lead you to being more happy. Some practical tips. I know we're just about at the beginning of the year, and so maybe something that could be helpful. I would say, journaling every day, making notes about how your day was, what went beautifully, what went perfect, I think is something that'll be useful. I've just picked up a tiny change, diary. It's called One Day at a Time, which helps me not just look at overall, 365 days, but quarters and months, but also weeks and days of how I can actually shape what I want. The second thing would essentially be to follow a hobby. A lot of times in our day-to-day work, we get so caught up with what we do, and what we need to deliver as outcomes. We tend to lose touch of something that we would love, and something we would do even if you don't get the money for it. So I think spend time on hobbies. That's very, very important. And I would say if you're able to put in exercise in your daily, structure or schedule, would be very helpful as well. There are proven facts of happiness chemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin that actually help you get happy when you're active and you're healthy. So I would say, focus on some of those very, very small fundamental things, and you will see a shift in what you do. My last signature thing that I do to keep me happy, all people could have different ones, is to keep learning. So the more and more you learn, the more and more you feel happy. So that's it from my side. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Rohan. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I wish I'll be able to talk to you more on this topic. And thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like the video, share the video, and if you have something on your mind, do comment. We'll be answering to those questions. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rohan.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.